Here comes the battle with Garula. Take it away, Garula. So this is a pretty standard white mage setup for this fight. Ferris, as you can see down there, has both the elf cape and the flail. So the only damage I'm going to do to Garula is going to come from Ferris. She's the only attacker. Garula has some nasty counters, and the counters get more severe when it gets below about 2/3 of its health. Garula has, I think, 1,200, and I think when it gets below 800, it starts to do double counters, or has the potential to do double counters, which I'm sure we'll see. Very first round has to be protect on everybody. Obviously, we'll cut that damage in half. Now, Ferris is going to start going on the offensive. The other characters are going to strictly do healing. Lena has the heal staff, and she was chosen for a couple of reasons. She got another magic multiplier at level 10. I'll just pause while I explain that. But also, she has 1 point of agility higher than the other characters. Actually, she has 2 more than Galef, 1 more than Butts. So I'm going to hope that the damage mostly targets the characters who are defending. Lena is going to be offering healing when it's needed with the heal staff, but the other times, everyone's going to defend because I want the attacks coming into them so that we do less damage. Obviously, the best result is what happened right there, where the attack comes to Ferris, and Ferris successfully parries it with the elf cape. So defend will lower the damage by half again. Oh, that's nice. 2 parries by Ferris. So that's a pretty good damage roll right there. I think it can do a little better if it needs to, the flail type weapon from Ferris. So protect cuts the damage in half, and then defend cuts it in half again. So the biggest threat is actually going to come from Garula's attack that's called Rush. So when you see a named prompt come up at the top, you'll know that Garula is using Rush. And Rush does physical damage, but it also inflicts leak status, HP leak status. So even though the actual hit should do single digit or maybe very low double digit damage, as you saw there with 11, the leak status will take another 50 or 60 or more after the fact, after the attack. So that's when we're going to have to start using the area of effect cures. And that's when you can get into a little bit of trouble. You can get behind on healing a little bit if Garula starts to use Rush a lot and spreads Rush out among a few characters. I am going to do just an area of effect cure here from Bart's. The good thing about that, though, is if you start to get behind a little bit, as long as you don't let it spiral too far out of control, you can have Ferris sit back and not attack for a couple of rounds. You can have her participate in the healing, and that will slow down the attacks coming in. That will slow down the attack coming in. Obviously, Garula will still have its regularly scheduled actions, which are all going to be damaging attacks, and I think Rush is mixed in with its regular routine as well, but I can't confirm that without checking. But that will slow down the damage coming in while you take a... character gets rushed. After about a round or two, Lena will be able to use the heal staff to fully cure that person, because that can cast Cure 2. I don't have access to Cure 2 as a hard cast. Sadly, the flail, as you can see, does suffer from not full accuracy. It has less than 100% accuracy. And I believe Garula has a little bit of physical evasion. I don't know the number off the top of my head without looking at the guide. The JL Tseng Algorithms Guide is a wonderful document that looks intimidating. I did a video about how to read and interpret it a long time ago on this channel. Hard to... I can't remember exactly what I talked about, but I just Control F your way through that document and how to interpret some of the things that look a little bit opaque. The limitation of it, there are a couple things that are not covered, a couple things that are not quite covered perfectly or perfectly accurately. And the names of everything use the RPGE translations. So if you're looking for information on an enemy or an item or a spell, you have to find it, Control F it, using the RPGE translation, which I know not every player of this game is familiar with. A lot of players who've been doing this game know those RPG translations very well, even if it's been a little while since they've played the RPGE version. You can see now, maybe while I was talking there, that Garula is into its possible double counterattack. There was a spot there before where you saw a counter and it hit Butts, I believe, or Bart's, and then the ATB paused for a second. That was it checking to see if it was going to do a second counter. So there'll be times when you see 2 counters come out, and times when you see 1 counter and then a pause in the ATB, and that's where it's checking, but it doesn't actually roll a second counterattack. And there was a rush, and that was really nice because it got dodged by Ferris. So it did a counterattack. Oh, I almost healed it. So Galura did a regular physical counterattack, and then it attempted a rush attack. Both of them got dodged by Ferris, and that is huge because Ferris dodged all of the leak damage that rush was going to do. Wow, there's another good dodge. So there's our first rush land, and you can see Galuf is leaking out right now. I'm going to have Lena wait this round. I'll have Lena use the heal staff on him next round. That might be a little bit tight, though, now looking at the numbers. You can see how much damage it's done, though, just that leak status, and it's still going. The reason for that is, though, because leak is on a timer, if I used a healing spell on him right away, it would have healed a little bit of the leak damage back, but then he would still be leaking. And as you can see, he actually would have probably hit the floor if we had let that leak just run out on him. So there was a double physical attack on Lena, and that was his regularly scheduled attack. So we had a counter, and then we had the Galura get his regular turn. So you saw 3 attacks in a row, it looked like. What that was 2 counters, and then a regular attack after that. So I'm glad that I picked up another magic multiplier at level 10. Some of my characters got it. I don't know if everybody got it. I don't like Galuf. I didn't check to see if he got it. By the way, your magic multiplier is your magic score times your level divided by 256, and then I think it's plus 2. There's a base multiplier of 2. So you get new multipliers when those... Wow, there's another rush blocked by Ferris. When those hit new integers. So when you multiply those numbers, I use a spreadsheet to do that math. I'm actually going to use the heal staff on Ferris. I use a spreadsheet to do the math so I can plug in exactly what level I'm going to get new multipliers. You can use physical is your, normally, your strength times level divided by 128, so that we call that the fast growth. Galuf is leaking again. I'm going to have Galuf cast a cure on himself because his hit points are a little bit on the low side, and I would be nervous that he would get too low before Lena could get a turn to hit him with the heal staff. And the leak status uses some weird timing sometimes, and this is something that this algorithms guide isn't comprehensive about. Things like regen and leak and some other odd timing things. The guide isn't totally perfect on those things. So I could have waited till his leak stopped to use the heal staff there, but I didn't want the ATB bar running because that gives Galura a chance to start getting more turns. So I didn't want to just be sitting there with the ATB bar going. But you saw that the leak status was going on Galuf while the ATB bar was not going, and that's part of the reason why the quick leak technique works on big bosses. A lot of people use it for Omega. You can take down Omega that way by casting Quick, breaking a Venom Rod to reflect onto Omega, and then sitting there while Omega leaks out between your movements of Quick, because the ATB bar is frozen, but leak status is still going strong and still draining his hit points. You got to wait for 50,000 plus hit points to tick away at tick, 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 tick. So there's Galuf's hit points ticking down, and again, I'm going to use that heal staff. He's been pretty unfortunate with the rushes, sadly. And this is a good example of how you can get behind, because you notice that I am not able to do as much defending. Now that characters have to actually take actions to heal, that means they're not defending, and that means that they take more damage from Galura when it does attack. So this one I have 3 characters defending because I did kind of catch up a little bit. So that was a pretty optimal round. But now Lena is getting a little bit low, so I'll have to have her use the staff on herself. And so now she will take quote-unquote double damage from Galura. Now we are reducing his damage about as much as we can. We're in the back row, we have Protect, and we're defending whenever possible. So you can see Galura's multiplier is getting chopped way down, and that's what makes this battle survivable with white mages. So it really just comes down to watching your hit points, Getting decent luck with the flail, both in landing hits, and then you also see the damage is wildly variable. That's another fun, quote-unquote fun aspect of the flail type weapon, is that when it does land a hit, which is not guaranteed, the damage is anywhere from, I believe that one is 50% to attack value, so you have a 1.5 time. That from Berserkers, they also have very unpredictable damage rolls. But so far, this is I think this is a battle with Garula about what you would expect. This is kind of an out-of-the-box battle. I'm not getting super bad luck with a bunch of rushes. Ferris has dodged a decent amount of attacks with her elf cape. Probably better than usual there, and as I'm talking about it, there's another one. So I would say maybe Ferris has done a little bit better job protecting herself than she can do on the whole. This is, by the way, a similar strategy to what you can use for All Thief party for Garula. All Thief is a rough one, and you could argue that it's even worse than this one, because thieves don't have access to the protections. Okay, there's another rush. So thieves can only heal with and a couple of high potions that you have. And elixirs. So you've gotten out of chests. You can get a couple of high potions or rare drop from a few different enemies in this game. They're a 1 out of 16 drop. So they're not way out of control for rarity, but it's not fun when you need to grind for 15 or 20 of them at a 1 out of 16 rate. So this is a point where I'd really like to have Ferris landing a few more hits. So you can see one rush that landed on Galef there resulted in a few rounds of us kind of going down because Lena had to use the heal staff on him twice to keep him above 100. And then here's another one. And then Butts also sometimes has to, depending on how much hit points we're talking about, Butts has to participate in healing. And that leaves all these characters not defending, because whenever they're taking actions, they're not defending. So you've got a lot of vulnerability, and you've got a few actions that you're having to gobble up. But we are making good progress. Luckily, Garula doesn't have access to any healing itself, so we can just kind of hang out and slowly plink it down 30 to 50 damage at a time. From poor Ferris. So there's a miss. But, you know, a missed attack functions similar to what you would normally do if you get behind. Like if all four characters, if I got sloppy and they were all below 100, I would just have Ferris sit back and wait until we could get ourselves back up. So missing an attack serves to do that, except you just don't get to control when it happens. Because Garula, you notice, there was 2 attacks. One of them could have been Rush. I believe, and I don't have the guide in front of me again, but I believe that on those counters, each one of the counters has a 1/3 chance to attempt Rush or do something, attack, nothing, or Rush. But there's Elf and when he's getting a little weaker, so I'd encourage you to look up the algorithms guide yourself. And there is Garula. So that 27 damage took Garula down. So 1,200 down to 0, 1 flail hit at a time. And those 5 AP are great. Here's your second high potion that I mentioned before. I guess we had gotten 1 from a chest. This is high potion number 2. So for the thieves, you can have 1 thief attacking, and then the rest of the thieves just chucking potions as fast as they can and defending as best they can. So I wish you luck if that is your situation, but it's definitely doable. On we go to our water crystal job.